Okay, good day, everyone. Today we'll discuss one of the most essential parts of our research paper, which is the theoretical background of the study. This section actually connects your topic to existing theories and concepts in language, literature, and education that explains your variables or your phenomenon. Before we proceed, I'd like to give you first the objectives of this discussion of this discussion. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to define and explain what a theoretical background is. Then you should be able to identify its importance and components. Also, you should be able to choose appropriate theories for your English related research topics. And lastly, write your own theoretical background clearly and coherently. All right, so we begin with the definition of theoretical background. The theoretical background is the foundation of your research. It presents, as what I said a while ago, the theories and models that support and explain your topic, helping every reader or all your readers understand why your study makes sense. For example, if your study is on the effect of interactive storytelling on students' oral communication skills, you may anchor it on Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, which is learning through interaction. And you can also anchor it on Krashen's input hypothesis, which is language acquisition through meaningful input. These theories that I mentioned explain how storytelling and communication tasks promote language learning. Okay, so let's move on. What are the purposes of the theoretical background? One of the purposes is that it anchors your study in established knowledge. Okay, so this means that um it means that your research is not created in isolation. It means that you build upon what other scholars and linguists have already discovered. Example, if your study focuses on students' motivation in learning literature, you might use self-determination theory to anchor your research because it explains the psychological needs that drives learning motivation. Now, on the other hand, uh, if you're going to study about code switching and comprehension in ESL classrooms, Cummins' linguistic interdependence theory also applies. Now, another is that it explains how your variables are related. That's another purpose. Theories help you understand the relationship between the elements you are studying. Example, in a study on the relationship between reading habits and vocabulary growth, you can use Krashen's input hypothesis because it explains how exposure to comprehensible input, which is reading, leads to language acquisition. The third purpose is guide your interpretation of your results. Your chosen theory gives you a lens. No, it gives you a lens to analyze and interpret your findings meaningfully. Example, if your results show that students improve their speaking skills after interactive storytelling sessions, you can use Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, okay, which helps explains that learning happens through interaction with others or social interaction and communication. Okay? So another purpose is that it shows academic understanding of language and learning. Citing and applying theories demonstrate your grasp of important linguistics and educational concepts. It also shows that you understand how language learning works and how teaching strategies can be explained by established scholars. Like if we refer to Gardner's multiple intelligences theory when discussing how different students respond to varied language activities, also shows this depth, no, in pedagogical understanding. Okay, so those are the purpose of theoretical background. So what's the importance of having a strong theoretical background? One of the reasons why we need to have a strong theoretical background is that it strengthens our sorry. A strong theoretical background ensures academic credibility and connects your topic to linguistic and educational principles. So when your study is supported by recognized theories, it shows that you are building on solid academic ground. This also makes your work more reliable and respected in the entire academic community. Example, if you study on code switching in English classrooms, if you're studying this code switching in English classrooms as your topic, it becomes more credible when it is anchored on social linguistic theories by Del Hymes, no? Or if it's anchored also on communicative competence theories. Nga naman, because these theories explain why language users shift between codes for meaning making and context adaptation. Okay? Now, it also provides a logical explanation for your research focus. That's the second, no, importance. Um, Theories, as you know, help you clarify why you are studying a particular topic or relationship. And theories also provide a logical foundation that connects your problem to established knowledge. Now, if your topic is on students' anxiety in oral communication, you should use or you can make use of Krashen's affective filter hypothesis. Why? Because it provides a clear theoretical explanation for how emotion affect language performance. Okay? Next is that it helps you interpret your findings within a recognized framework. So, a theory or any theory, a theory gives you a lens through which you're going to analyze your results. It also helps you make sense of your findings and compare them with other studies. Let's say, for instance, if you find that students perform better in grammar after interactive chatbot sessions, so you can use Vygotsky's social constructivist theory. Why? Because this theory helps you interpret this improvement as a result of social interaction and also with the help of scaffolding. And the last importance is that it connects your topic to broader linguistic and educational principles. Your theoretical background class places your study within the larger field of language education and linguistics. It also links your specific research topic to universal principles of how people learn, how people communicate, and develop language skills. For another example would be a study on integrating literature circles in English class. 'Di ba? Katong literature circles where you group your students and in one circle they're going to talk about the story that they've read, no? So this is a study about that. Now, you can connect that study to reader response theory. Nga naman, reader response theory as well as kaning constructivist learning theory. Because these two theories show that learning is an active interpretative process grounded in communication and engagement. So in summary, class, a strong theoretical background transforms your paper from a simple classroom project into a scholarly study. It proves that your research does not stand alone. No, it's part of an ongoing academic conversation about language learning and education. Okay, let's move on. What are the different components of a theoretical background? We begin with the first component, which is the introduction of the theory. So it is where you express who proposed it and what is it about. Example, Krashen's input hypothesis in 1982 posits that language acquisition occurs when learners are exposed to what? Comprehensible input slightly beyond their current level. Okay, so that's the introduction of the theory. You express, what did I say a while ago? You express who proposed it, and you also express what it is about. Now, the second component of the theoretical background is the key concepts. So, if you introduce the key concepts, you are actually giving us what are the major ideas. So, example, the major ideas would be input, affective filter, and natural order. These are the three key components explaining how learners acquire language. So, um you have to discuss these major ideas. And then the third is application to the study. Now you have to indicate how does this theory relate to your topic. Okay, so let's say, for example, you indicate there, this theory supports the idea that interactive storytelling provides meaningful input that enhances ESL learners' speaking skills. Okay, and the fourth is integration of multiple theories. So how do you do this? How do theories complement each other? That's the question that you will have to answer. So Krashen's input hypothesis and how does it complement with Vygotsky's social constructivism? So you have to highlight that they both support communicative approaches, emphasizing, of course, kanang interaction and input. Okay, so let's proceed with choosing a relevant theory. You have to choose theories, class, that fit your research questions and have been used in related studies. Choosing the right theory is one of the most important steps in writing your theoretical background. Okay? The theory you select serves as the lens through which you view and explain your research problem. Now, it also helps you what? Make sense of your topic and provides the what you call solid foundation for your discussion and analysis. So let's try to look into the things that you need to consider. So it should fit your what? It should fit your research questions or variable. So the theories that you choose must clearly relate to what you are investigation. So you have investigating. You ask yourself, does this theory explain the relationship between my variable? Okay? So that's the question. Does this theory explain the relationship between my variable? Example, if your research question focuses on how interactive storytelling improve communication skills, then Vygotsky's sociocultural theory fits because it emphasizes learning through interaction and communication. So if your study examines students' motivation in reading literature, then ang imuhang gamiton kay self-determination theory or expectancy value theory. These are both appropriate. Why? Because these two explain how motivation drives learning behavior. Okay? So, you also choose theories that is well established in English language or literature education. So that's the second one. Choose a theory that is recognized and supported by credible scholars in your discipline. Why? Because this strengthens your academic foundation. Example again, Krashen's input hypothesis and competence theory. These are widely accepted in the English language education. And these two are often used to explain how students acquire language through exposure and through use. So I'll give you, for instance, Reader response theory by Rosenblatt. This is a well-established framework that explains how readers actively construct meaning from texts, no? And making that text suitable for research on literary engagement, or what you call interpretation. The third, choose theories that has been used in related studies. So you have to review similar research papers or theses and take note of which theories they used. This shows that your choice aligns with existing scholarly work and strengthens your credibility or your study's credibility. For instance, if past studies on vocabulary learning through digital tools used kaning dual coding theory or multimedia learning theory, citing those two theories support your use of the same related frameworks. And the last is choose theories that help you analyze and interpret your findings. Your theory should not only fit your topic, but also help you explain the results once you collect data. So it should guide your interpretation. If your results show that the students learn better when working in pairs, then you can use social constructivist theories because this helps interpret that collaboration enhances learning through social interaction. Now, if students with higher motivation read more literary texts, then mogamit sad ka og self-determination theory. Because self-determination theory helps explain that intrinsic motivation leads to greater engagement. So always remember this when choosing a relevant theory class. When selecting a theory, always think of it as a backbone of your research. Again, when selecting a theory, always think of it as a backbone of your research. It must be relevant, credible, and useful in explaining what you are studying. So for English majors like you, what are the common theories? Okay, so the common theories would be Prussian's input hypothesis, Vygotsky's social constructivism, reader response theory, Bloom's taxonomy, Gardner multiple intelligences theory, and many others that are recognized language theories. Okay? So let's take a look at the difference between theoretical and conceptual framework. But do not be deceived or do not be confused by this too, because in our research, we do not make use of conceptual framework, but we only use the theoretical framework. So in research writing, theoretical framework and the conceptual framework are two essential components, pero they are distinct from each other. Both theoretical and conceptual framework explain the foundation of your study, but they serve different purposes. So let's try to look how they differ by using this table presented to you. So let's begin with this the aspect there in the table you see aspect, theoretical framework, and conceptual framework. So let's begin with the source. So as to the theoretical framework, it comes from existing, well-established theories developed by scholars. It also shows that your study is grounded in prior research and builds upon recognized ideas. So, example, if you use Vygotsky's social constructivist theory as the foundation for a study, especially when it comes to collaborative learning in English. So, in other words, you are borrowing a theory that already exists and applying it to your topic. While the conceptual framework, on the other hand, is your own construction. No, you construct it yourself. It is how you as a researcher connect the concepts, variables, and relationships based on your review of literature and understanding of the problem. So example, you might design a diagram showing how peer collaboration, teacher feedback, and student motivation interact to improve reading comprehension. So that's a conceptual framework. Let's proceed with the purpose. So For a theoretical framework, the purpose of theoretical framework is to provide the academic and scientific foundation of your study, right? So it explains why things happen, and usually it offers a lens for analyzing the results. Example, if your study is about how interaction improves speaking skills, you can use Vygotsky's theory. And Vygotsky's theory also explains that learning occurs through social interaction and scaffolding. Pero, if you talk about conceptual framework, it's only serving as visual and logical model that shows how your study will operate. And it also connects your independent variable and shows how each influence each other. For example, you can present a diagram that shows how storytelling activities, the independent variable, affects student speaking confidence, which is the dependent variable. Now, let's proceed with the third, which is the example. So let's say your research is titled Enhancing Reading Comprehension Through Peer-Assisted Learning in Senior High School. So for your theoretical framework, you're going to use Vygotsky's social constructivist theory to explain that students learn best when they collaborate and interact with others. Pero kung conceptual framework to, you are going to create a diagram showing the peer collaboration, teacher, the guidance, and active participation contribute to improved reading comprehension. So this diagram is your own conceptualization, no, of how the process works. So the theoretical framework answers the questions, what theory supports your study? While the conceptual framework answers the question, how do variables in my study relate to one another? So these two work together to ensure your research is logically grounded and academically sound. The theory there gives your study depth, while the conceptual framework gives it structure and direction. So I hope it's clear. Although we don't focus on conceptual framework, we only focus on theoretical framework. But I'm sure when you will be studying, let's say if you're master's, you might be asked to make your own conceptual framework. So at least you know what that is. All right, so steps in writing the theoretical background. So writing the theoretical background is definitely step-by-step process that requires both understanding and application of the theories relevant to your research topic. So you think of it as as I mentioned a while ago, no, it's like the backbone of your study. So think of it as building the backbone of your study. Every step strengthens your research foundation and ensures that your topic is supported by credible scholarly ideas. So let's go through each step in detail. So we begin with the first step. Review the theories related to your topic. Before you begin writing, spend time exploring existing theories that are relevant to your study. You read books, journal articles, and previous theses to understand what scholars have already said about your topic. Example, if your topic is improving vocabulary through extensive reading, you review theories like that of Krashen's input hypothesis, schema theory, and dual coding theory. The goal there is to find which theories best explain how or why your phenomenon occurs. So I have a tip for this. You make a short list of theories and take notes on how each relates to your variables. Now let's proceed to step 2. Select the most relevant. So choose the most relevant ones only. From your list, you select one or two theories that are most directly connected to your study. So avoid including too many because it's better to use a few that you can explain well than several that you can only mention superficially. Diba? So for a study entitled Storytelling as a Strategy to Enhance Speaking Fluency, you might choose Vygotsky's social constructivist theory because it focuses more on interaction and collaboration. And you can also go with communicative competence theory because it's for effective language use. Now, I have a tip for you. Theories should fit your research objectives and help you interpret your findings later. Again, the theories that you choose should fit your research objectives and help you interpret your findings later. Step 3, summarize clearly. So summarize each theory clearly, class. Once you've chosen your theories, provide a short but clear explanation of each one. You have to mention the key concepts, the main proponents, and the relevance to education or language learning. Example, according to Vygotsky's social constructivist theory, learning occurs through social interaction and communication. In language classroom, this means students develop better speaking and comprehension skills when they collaborate with peers. So notice everything is what? Everything is mentioned. I have a tip for you when you will be writing this. You have to avoid copying textbook definitions. Instead, you explain the theory in your own words and relate it to teaching and learning English. Step 4, connect the theory step 4, relate theory to your variables. So you have to connect the theory to your variables or research question. After explaining the theory, show how it directly affects or applies to your study. This connection is what makes your theoretical background meaningful. Why? It bridges the gap between abstract theory and your actual research topic. So for instance, I'll give you an example. This study applies Krashen's input hypothesis by emphasizing the importance of exposure to meaningful reading materials in developing students' vocabulary. Another, using Gardner's multiple intelligences theory. You can say this study explores how integrating visual and musical activities enhances students' engagement in literature classes. So I have a tip for this again. Always use linking phrases like this theory supports, no, this theory supports, or this is relevant because, that's another phrase, or this explains how. Okay? And the last step is end with synthesis. Always end with a synthesis showing how the theory supports your study. Finally, first you have to write short summary or synthesis that ties everything together. This shows that you understand how the theories collectively strengthens your research. So, example, anchored on Kwananiha, you are already synthesizing. Anchored on Vygotsky's and Krashen's theory, this study views language learning as a social and communicative process where interaction and exposure to comprehensible input enhance students' oral proficiency. So that's a synthesis. So your synthesis should connect all the theories you discussed, and they should clearly link them to your research purpose. So, finally, I'd like to conclude it for this topic, for this part. When you're writing your theoretical background, since it involves researching, selecting, explaining, and connecting theory, always condude, always follow the steps that I mentioned to you. So you can ensure that your study is not only well-grounded, but it's also academically convincing. No? A key skill for every English major who will one day conduct research or teach theory-based lessons. All right, so I have here some sample theoretical background. You can just look at them. You can just read them on your own, the sample theoretical background. I'll proceed now to writing tips. So always use clear academic language. Okay, that's very important. You don't need to use mga highfalutin or high-sounding words. Basta academic siya, dili siya high-sounding na type of mga language. So you can only choose 1, 2, or 3 relevant theories. In our case, we use 1 anchor theory and 2 supporting theories. And then integrate them smoothly. Never forget to cite the sources where you got them from, and always end with synthesis. So you have to avoid these mistakes. Listing theories without linking to topic. Okay? Make sure that when you write theory, you link that to the topic. It's like you're mentioning the reason, what's the relations or relevance of this theory to your topic at hand. Okay, avoid choosing unrelated or outdated theories. Copying without explanation. Okay, what did I say a while ago? It's better that you paraphrase it, make it sound like it's yours, but still you have to cite who wrote it, who said it, and avoid using too many theories. So as I said, only one anchor theory and two supporting theories. So in summary, okay, um, explain in summary, your theoretical background explains theoretical foundation. It connects study to knowledge in English education, and it also helps you interpret findings logically. So always remember, when selecting a theory, always think of it as your backbone of your research. I've already mentioned it many times in the previous discussion. Okay, it must be relevant, credible, and useful, no, in explaining what you are studying. So I hope you did understand and you're ready to write your theoretical background. Bye, everyone.